Welcome to English in Comfort. Get comfortable and let your mind ease into some English practice.
My morning routine. Waking up. I usually wake up around 7:30 in the morning. My alarm clock sits on the nightstand, and its soft buzzing sound is what usually gets me out of bed. Sometimes I hit the snooze button. Just 5 more minutes, you know? But eventually, I sit up, stretch a little, and glance at the sunlight streaming through the curtains. My bed always feels extra cozy in the morning, with the blanket still warm from the night. But I pull it off and swing my legs over the side of the bed, feeling the soft rug beneath my feet. It's a small thing, but it makes getting up a little easier. I take a quick moment to make the bed. Nothing fancy, just straightening the blanket and fluffing the pillows. It's one of those habits that helps me feel a little more organized, even if the rest of the day gets busy. After getting out of bed, the first place I head to is the bathroom. It's still early, and the cold tile floor gives me a little wake-up call as I step inside. I switch on the light, and everything feels quiet and still, just the way I like it in the morning. I start by brushing my teeth. I grab my toothbrush from the holder next to the sink and squeeze a little toothpaste onto it. The minty smell is sharp, but refreshing. As I brush, I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror. Hair a little messy, eyes still sleepy. It always makes me smile because it's such a normal, everyday moment. Once I'm done brushing, I rinse my mouth and wash my face with cool water. The cold splash wakes me up completely, and it feels so good after a long night's sleep. I dry my face with a towel hanging on the rack nearby. Next, I do a quick skincare routine. Nothing fancy. I use a gentle cleanser and then apply a light moisturizer. As I rub it into my skin, I take a moment to just breathe and enjoy the quiet. It's one of those small acts of self-care that feels calming, even when I have a busy day ahead. Before leaving the bathroom, I give my hands a quick wash with soap. The scent of the soap, something floral, lingers as I dry my hands. With that, I'm ready to move on to the rest of my morning. After finishing up in the bathroom, I head back to my bedroom to get dressed for the day. I open my wardrobe, standing there for a moment as I try to decide what to wear. It's not always an easy choice. Sometimes it depends on the weather or maybe just my mood. If it's a chilly morning, I'll reach for something warm, like a soft sweater. I love the feel of thick, cozy fabric, especially on colder days. I pick out a pair of jeans to go with it and some thick socks to keep my feet warm. On warmer days, I might choose a light, comfortable t-shirt or a loose blouse, paired with my favorite cotton trousers. My go-to outfits are always simple and easy. Nothing fancy, just clothes that make me feel comfortable. I sit on the edge of the bed to put on my socks, and then I slip into my shoes. Some mornings, I wear slippers around the house before switching to sneakers if I need to go out later. Before leaving the room, I take a quick look in the mirror to make sure everything's in place. I smooth out any wrinkles in my shirt and tie back my hair if needed. It's a small part of the routine, but it helps me feel a little more prepared for the day ahead. Before leaving my bedroom, I always take a couple of minutes to make the bed. It's one of those little habits that makes the room feel instantly tidier, even if everything else is still a bit messy. I start by pulling up the blanket, smoothing it out with my hands. Sometimes there are creases, and I'll give it a few quick tugs to make it look neat. Then I fluff up the pillows, patting them a little so they feel full and comfortable. If I have an extra blanket or throw, I fold it and drape it neatly at the foot of the bed. It's not something I think about too much, but there's something satisfying about seeing the bed look clean and ready for the day. While I'm at it, I usually take a moment to straighten up anything nearby. Maybe I'll pick up a book from the nightstand or fold a sweater that's been left on the chair. It's a small routine, but it feels good to start the day with things in order. Once the bed is made, the whole room feels calmer, like it's ready to welcome me back at the end of the day. And with that done, I'm ready to head to the kitchen for the next part of my morning. After tidying up, I make my way to the kitchen, where the first thing on my mind is coffee. The kitchen feels quiet and still, with soft morning light coming through the window. I walk over to the counter and grab my kettle. It's a little routine that I've done so many times it feels second nature now. I fill the kettle with fresh water at the sink, then place it on the stovetop. With a quick turn of the knob, the flame lights up, and I hear the soft hum of the water beginning to heat. While I wait, I open the cabinet and take out my favorite mug. It's simple but comforting, just the right size to wrap both hands around. Next, I grab my French press from the shelf. The glass is a little foggy from use, but it's well loved. I measure out a scoop of coffee grounds and add them to the press. The smell of the coffee, earthy and rich, makes me look forward to that first sip. The kettle starts to whistle, and I turn off the flame. Slowly, I pour the hot water over the coffee grounds, watching the steam rise and swirl. I give it a gentle stir with a spoon and then place the lid on, letting it brew for a few minutes. While the coffee steeps, I might get started on something small, like putting away a few dishes or tidying the counter. It's a good way to pass the time while the flavors develop. When it's ready, I press down the plunger and pour the coffee into my mug. Sometimes I'll add a splash of milk, stirring gently until the color lightens. Other days, I keep it simple. Just black coffee. With my mug in hand, I lean against the counter and take a slow sip. The warmth spreads through me, and for a moment, everything feels calm. It's one of the best parts of my morning. After my coffee is ready, it's time to think about breakfast. I'm not one for complicated meals in the morning. I like to keep it simple and easy. I start by opening the pantry to see what I have. Most mornings, I go for something quick like toast. I grab a slice of bread and pop it into the toaster. The quiet hum of the toaster heating up fills the kitchen, and soon the smell of warm bread starts to drift through the air. While the toast is browning, I take out a small plate and grab some butter from the fridge. If I'm in the mood for something sweet, I might add a jar of jam or honey to the counter. There's something comforting about having a little choice in the morning. When the toast is ready, it pops up with a cheerful sound, and I place it carefully on the plate. Using a butter knife, I spread a thin layer of butter over the warm surface, watching it melt into the bread. If I'm feeling fancy, I might add a spoonful of jam, spreading it evenly from edge to edge. Some mornings, I'll change it up. Maybe cereal or oatmeal instead. For cereal, I pour some into a bowl and top it with a splash of cold milk. If it's oatmeal, I heat it up on the stovetop, stirring occasionally to make it creamy. A sprinkle of brown sugar or a handful of fresh fruit can make it extra special. With breakfast ready, I sit down at the table, placing my plate and mug beside me. It's a quiet moment, just me and my meal, as I take a bite and sip my coffee. Sometimes I'll glance at my phone or look out the window, letting myself ease into the day. Once I've finished breakfast, I like to check the weather before planning the rest of my day. It's such a small part of my routine, but it makes a difference, especially when deciding what to wear or whether to bring an umbrella. I grab my phone from the counter and open the weather app. The screen lights up, showing the day's forecast. Sometimes it's a mix of symbols. A little sun peeking out from behind clouds, a raindrop, or maybe even a snowflake in the colder months. If it's sunny, I'll smile to myself, imagining how nice it'll feel to step outside. On rainy days, I'll make a mental note to grab my raincoat and boots. And if the temperature looks chilly, I think about layering up with a scarf or a warm jacket. Sometimes, instead of using my phone, I'll just take a peek outside. I walk over to the window, pulling the curtain aside slightly. The sky can tell you so much, whether it's a soft, clear blue or covered in gray, heavy clouds. I love the way the light changes with the weather. It gives the day its own unique feeling. If it's particularly calm outside, I might even step onto the balcony or open a window. The fresh air, whether cool or warm, has a way of waking me up even more. Birds chirping or the faint sound of cars passing by in the distance. It all feels grounding and peaceful. Checking the weather is like a quick check-in with the world outside, helping me feel prepared for whatever the day might bring. With that done, I'm ready to move on to some of the small tasks that usually fill my mornings. With the weather checked and breakfast done, I usually take a little time to handle some small tasks around the house. It's nothing too intense, just a few things to keep the space feeling calm and organized. One of my favorite morning tasks is watering the plants. I grab my watering can from its spot by the sink and fill it with lukewarm water. Walking over to the windowsill, I check each plant carefully. Some have big, leafy greens that seem to perk up the moment they get a little drink. Others, like succulents, don't need much water, so I just give them a light splash. It's relaxing, almost like a conversation with nature. Next, I might take a quick look at the kitchen counter. If there are any dishes left from the night before, I'll wash them. The warm water and soft soap bubbles feel soothing as I rinse each plate and cup, placing them on the drying rack neatly. It's a small effort that keeps the kitchen feeling fresh and welcoming. Another quick chore is emptying the trash. I tie up the garbage bag, grab a fresh one from the cabinet, and replace it in the bin. If it's a nice day, I don't mind stepping outside to toss the bag in the larger bin. It's a chance to get a little fresh air before heading back inside. Sometimes, if I have a bit more time, I'll wipe down the countertops or tidy up the living room. Folding a blanket or straightening up a few magazines feels satisfying and gives the house a cozy, lived-in vibe. These little tasks don't take long, but they make the space feel ready for the day ahead. Once I'm done, I can move on to something more focused, like planning out my day or sitting down to work. With the morning chores out of the way, I like to take a few minutes to plan my day. I grab my notebook from the table. It's a simple one with a soft cover that feels nice to hold, and sit down with my coffee. I usually start by jotting down the date at the top of the page. There's something satisfying about seeing a fresh, blank space ready to fill with ideas and plans. I think about what needs to get done. Maybe there's an errand I've been putting off, or a project I want to make progress on. Sometimes I'll write out a to-do list, breaking things into small, manageable steps. For example, if I need to go grocery shopping, I'll make a note to check what's in the fridge, write a list, and plan the best time to go. If it's a work day, I'll outline a few tasks I want to focus on, like responding to emails or finishing a report. Planning the day isn't always serious, though. I also include things I enjoy, like taking a walk, reading a book, or calling a friend. It helps to balance the list with things that feel like self-care or just little moments to look forward to. Sometimes I don't feel like writing. On those days, I sit quietly and just think about how I want the day to go. I picture myself moving through each part of it, imagining what it'll feel like to finish tasks or enjoy a quiet moment later on. Once I have a rough plan in mind, I feel a little more grounded. It's not about following it perfectly. It's just a way to set intentions and feel prepared. With my coffee cup nearly empty and my list ready, I close the notebook and move on to the next part of my morning. As the morning winds down, I start thinking about heading out for the day. Whether I have errands to run, a meeting to attend, or just plans to enjoy the outdoors, there's a small routine I go through before stepping outside. I head back to my bedroom and check the weather one more time, just to be sure I'm dressed appropriately. If it's sunny, I might grab a pair of sunglasses. On colder days, I reach for a scarf or a cozy jacket from the closet. Next, I pack a few essentials into my bag. I always make sure my phone, wallet, and keys are there first. They're the most important. If I'm going to be out for a while, I might toss in a water bottle or a snack, just in case. Sometimes I also bring a book or a notebook for those little moments of waiting when it's nice to have something to do. Once my bag is ready, I check myself in the mirror. It's not about looking perfect, but I like to make sure everything feels right. Shoes tied, hair brushed, no toothpaste smudges on my face from earlier. Before leaving, I take a quick walk through the house to make sure everything's in order. Is the stove off? Lights switched off? Windows closed? It's a little checklist I've gotten into the habit of doing, and it gives me peace of mind when I'm out and about. Finally, I put on my shoes by the door, grab my bag, and step outside. The fresh air hits me, and it's like the day has officially started. I close the door behind me, feeling ready for whatever the day brings.